Hello, I'm Greg Hunter for USA Watchdog, and I have 5 questions for Fed Chief Ben Bernanke. But first this. In April of this year, former Fed Chief Paul Volcker described the problems facing the American economy as, quote, the mother of all crises, end quote. That was a critical and amazing statement, not just because of the implication of what was said, but who said it. And at the time, it seemed almost over the top. But now every day, everyone from Wall Street to Main Street is wondering just how bad the economy will get and when will it bottom. It seems every week there's a new and even bigger crisis. Fannie and Freddie are being talked about in terms of when, not if, they'll be bailed out. And this is big, folks. These two GSEs hold half the mortgages in America, a staggering $5.2 trillion amount. And according to the Congressional Budget Office, it'll cost anywhere between $0 to $100 billion to fix. Wow, what a spread. In another recent crisis, the Attorney General of New York and others announced the beginning of settlements to force almost all the big financial institutions and banks to buy back hundreds of billions in what's called auction rate securities. In some cases, State AG Cuomo alleged outright fraud by the banks. These guys are lucky no one's gone to jail for this yet. And let's not forget the recurring nightmare of continuous bank and brokerage write-offs and losses due to the subprime crisis, aka over-the-counter derivatives or securitized debt. This kind of securitized debt is unprecedented in history. The total amount is north of $500 trillion, and Wall Street securitized everything. Everything from subprime to prime mortgages, car loans, student loans, credit cards, you name it, they bundled it into a security and sold it. And this kind of debt is supposed to be a financial innovation, and according to Alan Greenspan and others, needed no regulation. After all, in most cases, this debt was rated by the rating agencies AAA or riskless. Well, according to Nero Rabini, professor of economics at New York University, the tab for this credit crisis will cost the banks and brokerages at least $1 trillion, if not $2 trillion before it's all over. And maybe that's why former chief of economics at the International Monetary Fund and Harvard professor Kenneth Rogoff predicted recently that, quote, we're not just going to see mid-sized banks go under in the next few months. We're going to see a whopper, one of the big investment banks or big banks, end quote. Given this backdrop, it's no wonder Treasury Secretary Paulson and Fed Chief Bernanke are floating ideas about ways to let even large and systemically important institutions go bankrupt if they're insolvent. Wow, investors, look out. You're going to get a haircut. So here are my 5 questions for Ben Bernanke. If the housing market continues to sink in the next few years, could it cost more than $100 billion to bail out Fannie and Freddie? Number 2, what do you think the bailout of Fannie and Freddie will mean to the balance sheet and credit rating of the United States of America? Number 3, given the large losses the banks and brokerages still face, should there be regulation in the securitized debt market? Number 4, should the rating agencies that gave AAA ratings to worthless debt be investigated? Number 5, what criteria will you use to let a systemically important institution fail? In other words, which companies will you let fail and which will you bail out? To Ben Bernanke's credit, he didn't cause the problems that we have today. They were largely the fault of former Fed Chief Alan Greenspan, the maestro. Even so, Bernanke still left to deal with this mother of all crises. I'm Greg Hunter for USA Watchdog.